Listen, when it comes to the New York subway system, I'm hearing it's like Gotham City down there, and they need a Batman badly. Like, we've heard the horror stories. If you got TikTok, you might have even seen some. We're gonna check out some videos, man. Let's go.
Here at Fox 5, we're starting a new series digging into what it's really like for people who ride the subway.
Well, the numbers may show that subway crime is down. There are many incidents that either don't get reported or don't rise to the level of criminal activity. Still, they are unnerving.
All right, Fox 5's Arthur Chen spoke with the riders about some of their subway stories.
A lot of the times when we bring you stories that have to do with the subway system, it's when something really big has happened, right? And police have been called. Acknowledging that, we wanted to come down here and talk to New Yorkers about things that might not rise to that level, but still holds a very big presence in their lives.
I feel like every night I see something, right?
Sam is one of the countless subway riders out there with a story to tell. Times Square is his station, and though he's by no means small, he says he is always on his toes.
Every single night, like those stations, they're like, it's really difficult to feel safe. No matter, even if nothing is happening, like, you know, eventually something is gonna happen. Oh my God, that was like 2 weeks ago. I was in the L train under the bridge going from Bedford to First Avenue, and somebody started screaming like, "Get off the train right now, get off the train, get off the train." And it was like this huge pile of people running into everybody.
Sam's Times Square station was in the headlines last year after Michelle Go was shoved to her death onto the tracks of an oncoming train. Her murder exacerbated by the fact that in life she dedicated her free time to those in need, just like the man who was arrested for killing her. For women who ride the subways, like Sienna, there seems to be no shortage of disturbing behavior to endure.
Someone like spat on me on the subway, and that was really pretty traumatizing.
To assault cases to murder cases, we report on instances that the NYPD investigates. The official NYPD stats show a picture of crime in decline in the subways, in part a result of changes, including the city adding additional patrol officers into the system, and a change in techniques like positioning officers to check in with conductors who might report activity to police to address. But the simple truth is, countless New Yorkers who run into awful situations tell us they don't even call 911, and that includes both Sam and Anahi.
No, like never. And not because I don't think they're needed, I just don't think the response is gonna be quick enough, or I just think it's more like just look down and wait, because eventually it's gonna be over.
Because honestly, I don't call 911 because they're not gonna be as on top of the situation as it should be. They're gonna give you a rundown, make you write a report, and they're gonna check on you. They never check on you. So I don't feel like there's a point to have to reach out to NYPD.
We have strategies in place to address these kinds of issues, right? So in this instance, again, we have cameras throughout our system. We're starting to add more cameras on subway cars.
On the same day we spoke with these subway riders, New York City Transit President Richard Davey was responding to questions from reporters about a shooting inside a subway car on a C train in Brooklyn. A teenager and a man in his 40s were shot.
For our riders, it's going to be unsettling, there's no doubt.
While Davey says these instances are rare and points out to the fact that there were 4 million subway riders that day, and NYPD data shows subway shootings are down 25% this year, the picture does not match with Sam's perception and that of other riders we speak with. Remember what Sam said when we first met him?
I feel like every night I see something, right?
And with that disconnect, riders tell us how they avoid becoming another subway story, knowing when to avoid eye contact and being ready to move out of a subway car.
I think when it escalates, I just switch like from another train or go a little further, try to like get away from the situation. I think that's a way better solution.
In Bushwick, Brooklyn, listening to the subway stories of New Yorkers, Arthur Chen, Fox 5 News.
As more police officers, state troopers, and even National Guardsmen become visible in the subways, one specific group of officers is focusing on fare beaters in an attempt to prevent violent crimes.
Fox 5's Michelle Ross is live in downtown Brooklyn.
So not only do you gotta worry about the crime and try to stay on top of that and prevent that, and people worry about people's safety, then you gotta worry about people not trying to pay as well, bro. Like, I'm serious. They need to put a police station in here.
Michelle, you actually rode the subway with the NYPD. What are they saying about this tactic and if it's working or not?
Natasha, it is working. Last night they made a couple of arrests and they're waiting to see what the larger impact is. But it's not necessarily fare evasion that the NYPD is targeting. They say the people that are committing the crimes down here, most of the crimes down here aren't paying their fares. They're then going on to burden the commuters, prey on the commuters, commit violent offenses, and then go on to create lawlessness throughout the transit system. One after another after another. With the dozens of fare beaters, our cameras caught jumping the turnstile or walking through the emergency exit to avoid paying, you'd almost think the subway is free. But not paying still comes at a cost, especially for this man. Plainclothes officers arrest him at the Utica Avenue station after saying he had a bench warrant for a robbery in Queens in November. The NYPD is on the lookout for fare evaders because they say it prevents violent crimes from happening. The city has bigger fish to fry when it comes to, fare evasion and fare beaters.
Right.
This particularly goes beyond that.
Right. As I just told the team that's going out there today, it may look like a low-level crime, and it may start out that way. But reducing the amount of people who come into the system without paying is ultimately reducing felony crime. Because these are going to be people who are going to have guns, they're going to have knives, they're going to push people on the tracks.
They're looking for transit recidivists, those who repeatedly commit crimes in the transit system. And chances are, the NYPD says, they're not paying their fare before committing the crime.
We recover multiple firearms from engaging individuals for theft of service. On top of that, we encounter hundreds of people with active warrants.
Of the 3 people arrested Thursday night, all had warrants. Once a person jumps the turnstile, police will then look them up on their phone to see if they have a criminal history, which is happening right now, and he is being arrested. From the palm of their hands, police run the person's name through the system and are immediately notified if they're dealing with a recidivist. The NYPD says it's not looking to single out riders who can't afford to pay. This man who was nabbed was sporting a Montclair jacket and Gucci bag, a designer outfit worth a few $1,000s. But by not paying the $2.90 fare, he put himself in the spotlight. He had a warrant and was in possession of this pepper spray. Off to the precinct he went to get processed. Not everyone who is stopped is put in handcuffs, though.
You never know. Maybe this person is a runaway, needs help. We can offer them services. We're not looking to put those people in jail. We're looking for the recidivist.
If the person does not have a violent history and not in need of services, a civil summons is usually issued. This operation is made up of the transit response team with members of the community response team.
They are not subject to being on a fixed post at a turnstile, at a fixed post on a platform, being a slave to the radio, answering 911 jobs all day. Their main job is to be out in the system, riding trains, engaging with customers.
What are you talking about? He there for the photo op. Look at all these police here. He just here for the photo op. That's it. My thing is, how consistent are they going to be with doing this? This requires consistency, man. If you're just going to do this one time just to show the public you trying to do something, and then as soon as the cameras go away, you never show back up, this ain't going to solve nothing.
Their main job is to be out in the system, riding trains, engaging with customers, providing a sense of security.
And although subway crime is down, many riders still don't feel safe. So the NYPD is making sure its presence is felt.
These are exactly the type of people that we're going to take a low-level offense and use it to get violent people out of the transit system.
By carrying out these operations, they're working to improve the quality of life for New Yorkers who just want to get home safely. And in the 3 minutes that our story just aired, we saw a couple of large groups come through here. We counted 14 people that did not pay their subway fare coming into the train station here. And to give you some more numbers, last year the NYPD says it arrested 38 employees for assaulting MTA employees. Now, if we combine the arrests of all of those 38 people, that comes out to 1,126 career arrests. We're live at the Barclays Center train station in Brooklyn. Michelle Ross, Fox 5 News.
Startling numbers released by the NYPD this week show subway crimes up 22% compared to this time last year. And as our Christina Fan reported a few moments ago, they're now changing how officers patrol the stations. But how are riders actually feeling?
Actually, it's not safe. I don't know what's going on in New York nowadays.
Some subways that do have policemen on the platform patrolling, walking around, and then there are others that there's nothing there. Keep your eyes open.
sounds like it's good advice.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. Just pray.
Keeping your eyes open is good. Just joining us now to discuss those fears and what the NYPD is doing to combat subway crime, CBS law enforcement contributor and former deputy commissioner with the NYPD, Mr. Richard Esposito. Richard, great to see you once again.
Good morning, Chris. Good to see you.
Yeah, and before I get to the questions here, the one question I have, and from Christina's report just a couple of moments ago, 6 felonies a day are being reported underground here in New York City. I mean, to just give people a little perspective, we're not talking misdemeanors. We're talking about 6 felonies a day. That is an extremely high average.
It is a high average, and it's obviously the mayor and the police commissioner have expressed that they are concerned. These numbers are driving fear, and they're trying to go back to 12-hour tours, go back to flooding the subway, go back to higher visibility. When I say go back, that means all of these things stopped for a bit of time. And not seeing cops, as you just heard in our report, really attributes to the fear.
So do you think that's something that the NYPD is probably going to have, and with the MTA, they're going to have to adopt full time, because it looks like kind of the dip in, dip out with this flooding, the underground subway system with police officers is not something you can take a couple of weeks away from. It looks as though something you have to pretty much make common practice.
You know, it's a delicate balance. We, of course, would love to have that amount of cops all the time in the subway, but you have other areas of the city, and you've got to pull cops from one area, move them to another, depending on what patterns you see. It would be great to flood the subways all the time, but the reality of the manpower is the police department's a bit down in the number of people that they have working. So they have to sometimes make those difficult choices of where do we put our cops today?
And to be honest, not all criminals are stupid. They're going to know that the police are all underground, so we're going to take our crime above ground again, and it just kind of turns into a vicious cycle. The numbers that we were just talking about here, the 22% increase year to date, in terms of real numbers, what does that mean? I know the perception when people hear it, of course, it scares the daylights out of them, but as an expert from where you're sitting, what does that number really translate to?
You know, that's a really important point, Chris. The statistics, nearly 20%. It sounds very scary. The reality, number-wise, is, you know, there are 5 million riders a day, and you're looking at, as you said, about 6 felonies a day. When you put it in that kind of perspective, a hard number, yes, larceny, stealing from people is up, robbery is up, but these numbers are small, single-digit increases, 6 or 7 crimes in each category, and citywide, overall, crime is down.
Yeah. I hate when they play the statistics game, man. Stop it. Stop it. What it's going to take to happen is some political party representative or somebody who's important, quote unquote, or somebody, something's going to have to happen in order for them to really, really crack down. It's going to have to happen to somebody important. That's what I'm saying. Like,
so the mayor is obviously talking about more transit cops, as we just mentioned, security cameras. These aren't necessarily, I guess, the deterrent we thought they would be when you heard about all these. Now they're putting LED light bulbs down there to brighten up platforms at different subway stations and things of that nature. In your estimation, what's working, what's not working?
I think the thing that works the best is the visibility of police officers in uniforms at the stations, on the platforms, on the trains. Without a doubt, that is the thing that is both most comforting to the rider and the thing that is most likely to deter a criminal. Lighting is good, you know, the cameras are great. But we've seen in retail theft above ground in stores that sometimes the criminals are pretty brazen, and even the cameras just don't stop them.
Yeah, it's funny. Yesterday, that Gucci store break-in that we showed, I mean, the masks were off. They're right on camera. You can see them. I mean, you may as well say, okay, come arrest me.
Yeah, not brilliant.
Nobody realizes that there are cameras on every street corner at every building. You really cannot hide around here. But far be it for me to give any advice to the criminals out there. Richard, thanks so much. Really great to see you once again. We appreciate your time.
Thanks so much, Chris.
All right, we'll talk soon.
In just the last few days, there have been multiple violent attacks in the subway system.
That's right. Mayor Adams giving mixed messages, claiming that criminals here are emboldened, while also insisting that the city itself is not out of control.
Fox 8's Linda Schmidt takes a closer look at where things really stand when it comes to crime in the 5 boroughs.
Bad guys no longer fear the police. They feel emboldened to do whatever they want.
Mayor Adams yesterday, but then moments later, he seemed to contradict himself about the public's concern that crime is out of control.
We hear this over and over again. The city's out of control. The city's out of control. The city's out of control. It's just not true.
He constantly says two opposing things at the same time.
Nicole Gelinas is a senior fellow with the Manhattan Institute, a conservative think tank.
Every year that I've been mayor, crime has dropped in the subway system.
We've had 4 subway murders this year so far. It's only March. Between 1997 and 2019, we only had 1 or 2 subway murders a year. So for this year shows that things on the subway are still very much out of control.
That sounds like a lot to me. And then you notice the politician sounds different than the actual people who are riding the subway. They're scared. He's saying something different.
On Monday, a man was shoved onto the subway tracks and killed at 125th Street. And then yesterday, a female NYPD officer was punched in the face at the same station, trying to prevent riders from evading the fare.
Right now, I was worried about getting pushed over the train or getting stabbed for no apparent reason, things like that. And that's coming from like the homeless people or the people with mental health issues.
2 days ago, I was sitting and one homeless, a young guy, he jumped into me.
Gelinas says the city's homeless and mental health crisis could be handled more productively and that the city should be putting more pressure on hospitals.
If the person says, I'm fine, I want to go home, you can say, if you want to go home, you're going to be charged with this crime and you're going to be sitting at Rikers. So you can be at Rikers or you can be in the hospital, but it's not a choice to go home. They're not using this as a lever. They're not coordinating between the criminal justice system and the hospitals.
She also says the periodic surge of NYPD officers into the subway is a short-term solution that is paid for with overtime.
He needs to find room in his budget to hire more transit police officers, people who want to do the job of transit policing, people who aren't just taken for the day from the rest of the NYPD.
Linda Schmidt, Fox 5 News.
The recent rash of violence on the subways, along with other high-profile crimes across the city, has left many residents on edge.
All right, Fox 5's Lisa Evers spoke with New Yorkers about their concerns on crime and the effect it's having on their daily lives.
Not that safe, but I'm a New Yorker, so I know how to navigate it, but it's getting worse day by day.
You can't lock me up for 4 hours. Come on.
Some subway riders at the 125th Street station took issue with the concept of having to pay for their ride. This week, the NYPD is flooding the system with 800 additional police officers to stop fare evasion. A female police officer was punched in the face, and she had a badge, gun, and backup. Nearly every rider we spoke with has had close encounters with severely disturbed people so often, it's no longer unusual.
I've seen a lot of people, and you can tell are on substances or something. And luckily, I haven't had any incidents.
This rider takes the train every day to go to school.
Other stations are fine, but 125th especially is probably one of the worst.
And see, if for nothing else, bro, I even forgot about that. The actual kids that ride the school bus to go, not the school bus, the subway to go to school. Like, you gotta protect the seniors, the kids. They should be top priority. So this has to get fixed, man. Something has to happen.
New York City.
Anything happened to you or any close calls?
Somewhat. Some guy was throwing up and he pulled down his pants in front of me. It was horrible.
A commuter was struck by a number 4 train and killed on Monday by an emotionally disturbed person in an unprovoked attack.
You be around mentally ill people, but you gotta just be aware of your surroundings. If somebody's acting crazy by me, I'm just gonna kind of move.
Right now, I was worried about getting pushed over the train or getting stabbed for no apparent reason, things like that. And that's coming from the homeless people or the people with mental health issues.
This extra presence of police officers here at this station is temporary, but a lot of the riders we spoke with said they'd like to see that permanent. In East Harlem, I'm Lisa Evers, Fox 5 News.
We're hearing from a subway hero who stepped in to stop a fellow rider from harassing 2 women on a train. News 4's Gabi Acevedo has his story.
A brave subway rider who stopped a man from harassing 2 women inside a train over the weekend, reliving the tense moments.
This is the first time I got a knife pulled out of me on the train.
Tonight, 50-year-old Jose Ceron, the Good Samaritan, spoke to News 4 after the NYPD says he intervened with the suspect, 37-year-old Diego Morales, who has now been hit with a couple of charges, including criminal possession of a weapon.
I said, listen, you can come here, it's fine, but you're leaving this train right now.
Investigators say this incident happened on Saturday, and it started around 2 p.m. at the 137th Street City College station, when police say the suspect, Diego Morales, was shouting at the riders inside the train cart and then approached 2 women who were already on board a downtown number 1 train. Ceron says Morales then pulled one of them by the hair.
I just got in between both of them. I said, you don't need to do that. All of a sudden, he just decided to get up off his seat and pull out a box cutter. He pulled the blade out and put it to my face and said, I'll cut you right now.
Keeping his composure, Ceron waited.
I wonder how this would happen if it was like in Georgia, where everybody has the right to carry. I wonder how this would play out. Certain things wouldn't happen if you thought that the person you about to do this to might be carrying. You know what I'm saying? Like, maybe New York got to rethink their right to carry laws. I don't know what they are up there, but I don't think you can really carry like that. I don't know. I'm gonna have to check and see.
For Morales to turn his back, and as the door trains open at the 103rd Street subway station in Harlem, Ceron pushed Morales out of the train.
He happened to just fall on his face and kind of like put him out of commission for a moment. I held him down. Someone on the platform saw me. They said, I'm calling the police right now.
As the NYPD worked the scene after the incident, detectives say they found a box cutter collected as evidence and later discovered that Morales had 2 outstanding warrants and a criminal record with 16 prior arrests.
You pull out a weapon, you cross the line there, you have no business entering the trains whatsoever. And I think the city should maybe enforce a kind of rule or law or whatever they have in place to allow those people to not allow those people to come into the subway. You cross the line.
Reporting from Harlem, Gaby Acevedo, News 4, New York.